This is also an opportunity for Canada to really start looking beyond the United States for trading partners. Obviously, Europe, the UK, all through Europe are great opportunities, I think, for us as a nation to look for other places to sell our product to and bring product in from and establish a stronger trading ties with other nations beyond the United States.
So right here, Henry Hill, Sienna Rogers, I'm here, John Pino and Pino and Friends. We've been joined now from Canada by, well, we're going to be talking to Scott, who is the Mayor of Winnipeg, Scott Gillingham. Hello to you, Scott.
Good morning, or good afternoon. For me, it's good afternoon, John, but to you all your listeners, good evening. Great to be with you. Thank you.
Good evening to you, Scott. I mean, you would have been watching, I'm sure, your new leader, Mark Carney, talking to the president in the Oval Office. That conversation still going on over lunch where they are. That we had no idea really what to expect. We did not expect quite the outburst of cordiality that we subsequently saw. And the president was asked in their sort of pre-lunch press conference, what about everything he'd had to say about Canada becoming the 51st state? And then he said this.
Well, I still believe that, but it takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut.
Well, there it was. I mean, that was Donald Trump letting go of the idea, effectively, Canada becoming the 51st state of the United States. He went on to tell us how much he loved Canada, how much he admired Mark Carney, who was a good man and a talented man who'd run a great campaign. What did you make of it, Scott?
Well, the president has been talking about, wanting to make Canada the 51st state for some time now. He's dreaming of it. Some dreams never come true. This one will not come true for him because there is no way we are going to become the 51st state. Yeah. And Canadians writ large have no interest in being, the 51st state. And certainly our Prime Minister, thankfully, has made that very clear to the president as well. Yeah. What we have to do, I believe, our Prime Minister Carney is trying to do that, is to, where we can, reestablish the trading relationship. We do have a trading agreement, the CUMS, as it's called, the Canada, U.S., Mexico trade agreement. There's an established framework there that perhaps could be modified and adjusted if necessary to meet some of our goals. But, John, this is also an opportunity for Canada to really start looking beyond the United States for trading partners. Obviously, Europe, the UK, all through Europe are great opportunities, I think, for us as a nation to look for other places to sell our product to and bring product in from and establish a stronger trading ties with other nations beyond the United States.
Yeah, it needs to be said that although the tone of the conversation became, rapidly, almost disconcertingly warmer, you still have the very real issue of tariffs, of trade tariffs. And just a couple of days ago, we saw Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary of the United States, telling us that there was no reason for America to make cars in Canada at all. No reason for films to be made in Canada at all. Those tariff barriers are still there. Still a worry for you and people like you in your city.
They are. What we're worried about here, John, I'm mayor of the city of Winnipeg. We're geographically in the center of Canada, a population of 850,000 people. We have businesses here that are being affected by the tariffs. My concern as mayor is jobs and paychecks and the impact on our local economy here in the city of Winnipeg. And I share that concern with my mayoral colleagues all across Canada. Yes. So we really do need our Prime Minister to work hard. I believe he is working hard to do all he can to reduce or ultimately eliminate those tariffs because it is impacting businesses and business investment across Canada.
Well, that curious warmth in the Oval Office, do anything to take some of the steam out of the situation, to make Canadians feel a bit less hostile towards America and the president?
I think, the frustration that Canadians have, or I'll speak as one Canadian, as a mayor, what I hear in my city, is directed, frankly, at the president, not at the American population. Because in speaking to many of my mayoral colleagues in the United States, they're sympathetic to the impact on Canada and on Canadians of what the Prime Minister is talking about, or probably the President's talking about. but it's also Americans and American cities that are impacted by these tariffs. For example, a U.S. putting tariffs on softwood lumber drives up the cost of housing starts and development in the United States at a time where they need housing.
Yes.
And so when I speak to U.S. mayors, they are equally concerned with and have called upon the president to eliminate and end the tariffs.
And the fall off in visits by Canadians into the United States has been really dramatic, hasn't it?
It really has, John. And in fact, you take a look at our own city of Winnipeg, our advertising, our tourism campaign right now is calling upon other Canadians to visit Canadian cities, specifically visit Winnipeg. And so there is a reduction in the number of Canadians going to the United States for vacations, or they're limiting even their business travel where possible. So there's a real financial impact that the United States is experiencing right now because of the tariffs.
It's great to have you with us, Scott. Henry Hill is here with me in the studio. So Sienna Rogers. Henry.
Hi. Slightly broader question, and I'm not asking this in a partisan sense because I know you're independent, but how do you feel about the fact that in your recent general election, for the first half of the campaign, there was obviously the polls were going one way, but that was in part because the Conservative Party of Canada led on the cost of living and lots of other bread and butter issues. And by the end of the campaign, which it ended up losing, it still led on most of those issues. So is it, obviously you have a large neighbour and there's not much you can do about it, but is it a bit depressing that you could end up having an entire federal election decided not on who's going to look after the average, especially the average younger Canadian, but who's going to stand up to a foreign head of state?
Well, Henry, that is the nature of politics, isn't it? Everything can be tracking one way, and the issues can be, at the top of the charts. But then something like, the President of the United States coming in with the rhetoric he's brought in and tariffs, and everything changes. And the election completely changed, as you said. I think, though, beyond President Donald Trump and the issue of tariffs and trade, those other issues you talk about, Henry, are still there. Affordability. Crime and safety in our community, in all of our communities. Those are still issues that have not gone away. They're still very present issues that we still must have our federal politicians, acknowledging and fighting for Canadians on.
Sienna Rogers.
Do you think there's any lessons for the UK in terms of what has happened today with this discussion between Trump and Carney?
Well, I would hope as a Canadian that the UK would be very open to new and expansive trading relationships with Canada. But of course, the president has not only targeted Canada. It seems that almost every nation he's traded with, the United States trades with in the world, has been in his sights. And so I think, broadening our respective trading relationships is important, and then continuing to stand for one another. I mean, here in Canada, we're a hockey nation. We use the term elbows up all the time. And if you know anything about hockey, you get into the corners and the elbows come up a little bit and it gets a little rough. And we have said, it's time for us to stand up for ourselves. We're going to stand up for ourselves. We're not going to be bullied as a nation. And so I think having like-minded nations who will stand for democracy, freedom, integrity, and liberty are what we really should bind all of us together in our like-mindedness.
Right. Sienna used that reference to elbows. I had no idea what she was talking about, but now it turns out she's talking about ice hockey. So I've learned something this evening. Scott Gillingham, Mayor of Winnipeg, thank you so much for joining us.